The facilities management program is comprised of these programs. These are all responsibilities that your facility manager and his crew are responsible for. The operations and maintenance is the number one thing, but any kind of minor improvement repair program funds or emergency reimbursement funds that come in, they should be involved with all of these. Any of this funding that creates a project at your location, they should be involved with and be helping to oversee and getting in. Next slide. The operations and maintenance, of course, is broken into two separate programs: operations, maintenance. The operations in the FBMS is coded E35. That's for operations, and E45 is the maintenance code. Onium is the performance of day-to-day activities required to keep your facilities in good working order. The primary goal, as you can see, is to maintain a safe and healthy environment so that you can, for the schools, in order for you to provide a good educational program to your students. The Onium Bureau Operating School is performed by facility staff. They are BIE employees. For compact, contract, and grant schools, they're usually tribal employees. There are three categories of O&M, what O&M funding is used for the operations, the preventive or scheduled maintenance, and the unscheduled maintenance. As I said, the operations is the day-to-day activities required for the operation of the program. And here's some samples: the custodial services, fire protection, the daily monitoring of utility systems and services, refuse collection, pest control, utility services, the contracting and payment of utility service bills, and identification and abatement of safety and health deficiencies. There are three categories of maintenance: preventive maintenance, unscheduled maintenance, and emergency maintenance. These are all E45 account. Preventive maintenance is the routine activities required to keep everything working. It includes inspections. If you have an HVAC system, it may be changing filters in your HVAC system on a regular basis. It's basically doing the things to keep all of your equipment and systems operating as they should. There's always manufacturer maintenance procedures that should be followed in all preventive maintenance. Preventive maintenance is very critical because this is what keeps your equipment and your building operating as it should. It helps prevent breakdowns from things that like if your air filters get clogged up, it can burn up your HVAC units. If there are door hardware that needs to be lubricated so that the doors easily open and closed, those types of things keep your building working. It also extends the life of all of your building components. In today's budget atmosphere, that's important because funding is limited, and there has not been a lot of new funding that comes down, so we have to make the most use of what we have. We usually recommend that 35 to 40% of your maintenance personnel's time is spent performing the preventive maintenance tasks. We know that that's not always possible due to unforeseen things like unforeseen breakdowns or emergencies, but as much time as possible should be spent in performing those tasks, PM tasks, and getting them accomplished. As a preventive maintenance plan, that's basically a plan of how you're going to perform the inspections and PM. FEMA has a PM plan module There are also things, we call them technologies, and I'll show you a sample of those in another document. That tells your facilities people what they should be doing and how often. It also gives you a labor and material cost, and that's part of how your facility is funded. We'll talk more about those things in the formula portion of our presentation. Unscheduled maintenance are the things that break down. You get windows broken, your exit lights may go out, your door handle may be broken, window gets broken, sinks clog up. That's unscheduled maintenance. Anything that's $2,500 cost or less, it should be repaired or corrected by your facility staff. Here's some samples of unscheduled maintenance. See item number 2, major electrical mechanical failures. Those may be things that they cost more than the $2,500, and we have supplemental programs, an emergency reimbursement program that can help you cover those type of costs. These are the things, the operational things that are funded in the E35 account. GSA vehicle rentals, your communications, that is your telephone or handheld radio costs for your facilities management program only. The GSA vehicle rentals, that's for your facilities management vehicles, not for your school buses or other school vehicles, only for the facilities management vehicles. Pest controls for the entire school, protection services. We will pull up another. Protection services are the costs incurred by your facilities management for the protection of a building, like a seasonably staffed fire watch, electronic surveillance, or intrusion detection system. They're not for security guards. It's for the building protection. If you have, for example, a burglar, off-site burglar alarm contract or fire alarm contract, those types of costs. Funding should not be used for facilities improvement, major facilities improvement, and/or design work, or for new construction. I will mention here that before you make any changes, like before you tear down walls or add walls and change configurations of your school buildings, you need to get approval for that before you make any changes to the building. Technology, I mentioned technology. It's a detailed description of a specific task. We'll show you more about that in the formula portion. But it's basically what needs to be done to keep those equipment and systems operating properly. Annual work plan is basically a plan of how you're going to spend your Onium funding throughout the year for the various types of costs that you incur, like say for personnel, utilities, vehicles, all of those things. You need to lay out a plan for the entire year. We all know that plans are very hard to adhere to because of unforeseen circumstances, but you need to plan out how you're going to spend your money. You can always adjust your plan throughout the year, but it's kind of like your checkbook. If you just spend your money and don't pay attention to how much you're spending, when you come up short, you're going to be very shocked and have a hard time making up costs. FEMA has an annual work plan built into it. There's a module that you can go into, and it's tied back to the technology module, which will help you set up a plan for your annual work plan. Work order system is a work ticket is basically a formal request indicating that work must be done. If for example, if one of your teachers or one of your staff see something that needs to be corrected, if there's a light out, if there's a window broken, they should either fill out a work order ticket or notify the facilities manager in order for him to prepare a work order to give to his staff so that they can correct that deficiency. There are work orders in both FEMAS and Maximo. Building history file, it's all of the work order information that for each building. That helps you see how much money you're spending in that building. It also helps you track what the facility staff is doing, how much time they're spending, what the costs are that you're putting into that building. It may be that you're spending so much funding repairing that building or that system in that building that you may need to look at replacing that building system or component rather than just keep repairing it. Right now we're transitioning from FEMAS to Maximo, the Indian Affairs Facilities Management System, IAFMS. It's operational now, and everyone should be using it for their work orders, for their asset inventory updates, data updates, and backlog creations. FEMAS is still being used. We plan on retiring FEMAS. As soon as Maximo is fully operational, there are still some things that we need at central office for Maximo to do. As soon as we get everything in 100% working order, we will turn off FEMAS and go strictly to Maximo. Until that time, schools still need to upload their actual costs for utilities, communications, GSA, and most of you have been through this before. That information needs to be loaded into FEMAS so that we're able to calculate a budget for you based on your actual costs. And those need to be updated in FEMAS by the end of, I believe it's end of April? Yeah. End of April. And your utility, for example, your utility costs, these are costs, all of these actual costs are from April 1st of 2013 through March 31st of 2014. You probably won't get your March invoices or your March bills until April. That's why we give you till the end of April to have all of the data uploaded into FEMAS. And I have to caution you, if that information is not loaded, you could lose some funding. We don't know how much you need, so you may not get a fair share to help cover your costs. These are the things that the formula is made up of, and I will go more into detail on these. I just put this in here for just as a general overview. These are the things that help calculate your O&M budget. We'll talk a little bit about space expansion. A lot of times you need some additional classroom space, or you have a need for some another type of educational space. There's a process that you need to go through in order for BIE to submit a budget request to request O&M funding to help pay for the operations and maintenance of that new space. Go to the next one. And it's basically by March 1st, if you should submit any request for new space by March 1st. We have a 2-year budget request process. For example, for fiscal year 2015, we submitted the budget request in fiscal year 2013. So there's a 2-year process, so we need to get, you need to get your space expansion request in as soon as possible, so you don't have to absorb the cost of that O&M. If your space expansion is approved by BIE director, we just need to make sure there's money available to pay for your O&M costs. All space, new space has to adhere or comply with the BIA adopted codes. We ask if you have an AE firm that's constructing new space, that they certify that all of the new facility will meet applicable codes and standards. There are also, for fire alarm and sprinkler, we require the submittals of shop drawings to the Division of Safety and Risk Management so that they can review the design documents to make sure that all of the codes are complied with. BIE is responsible for certifying that all of the new space meets all of the applicable criteria for the educational program, and that they approve the new space to be funded for O&M. That's. I know that was quick. We've got another portion to show you, but I want to open it up to questions right now on the facilities management program overall.
Dale, I have a question. This is Marlene Walker. I have a question regarding the O&M funds. Where are the funds, and how do the schools know how much budget they have to work around their annual planning?
The annual appropriation for Bureau of Indian Education funded programs, schools, the funds go directly to BIE. Once we find out how much money has been appropriated to BIE, we run the FEMA's formula that calculates the O&M budget, how much each school should get. We provide that information to Dr. Joe Herron, who then distributes the money out through the BIE financial system to the individual schools. Okay.
I had a individual from Great Plains wanting to know, how they could see where their O&M funding was.
The fund, while BIE distributes the funds, they can go into FEMA's. FEMA's has an O&M module. They can go into the O&M module and pull up a report. It's called the O&M distribution report,
okay.
And that shows them how much money they got for operations, how much money they got for maintenance.
Marlene, this is Joe. Have that individual contact me, and I'll send them a copy of the funding document.
Okay, I will.
We have any more questions?
Yes, this is Gila Crossing in Arizona.
Yes.
And we've had a complete turnover in staff, and we have nobody at our site with access to FEMAS or Maximo. And we understand it takes a 40-hour training to get access to that. How can we get access to get things updated?
We're not offering any formal trainings because we're transitioning to Maximo. I would suggest that you contact Erwin Kysum at the Western Regional Office. Erwin is the regional facility manager for Western Region. He can provide you with any data if you need to update your inventory or enter your actual costs. He can assist you with that. We are allowing some access to FEMAS. Most of it's going to be read-only, but you can contact me at edwin.keel@bia.gov, or you can contact the BIA help desk.
Okay.
let me give you the BIA help desk. The web address, email address is BIA help desk, all one word, at BIA.gov.
Shaquille?
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Well, this is Chris Kepling from Turtle Mountain Facilities. My question for you is what elements do you use to determine the amount of funding per schools? Like, for instance, over here I have two older schools that were built in the early 80s, and I have some schools that were built, two new schools that were built in the 2000s.
Yes. If you don't mind, we're going to go through that in this next slideshow, and we'll talk about the formula, and I'll show you all the factors on how we calculate the O&M budget.
Okay, thank you.
Gail, I have a question.
Sure.
You said that for protection services, they're not for security guards. I thought that you could use one security guard for overnight for fire watch. Is that incorrect?
Now, we need to clarify what a security guard is. A security guard is there pretty much for the protection of individuals or human beings. A fire watch would be kind of like a night watchman, and which is fine.
Okay.
We just need to be clear that night watchman is not trying to apprehend criminals.
Right.
We don't want to get anyone hurt. But if they do see someone, trying to break into your buildings, yes, they can. That would be if they see some type of event that needs to be reported, that they would do that.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Mark Jacobson from Cooleyette Tribal School. You had mentioned the expansion of space, and maybe this presentation isn't dealing with new space, but I know the new applications are not available yet for new school construction. But what I'd like to ask is, will the new application have a process in there where you can identify that your school is located in an extremely hazardous area so that you can move up on the list of schools for funding? We're located in a tsunami zone. As a matter of fact, I could hit a golf ball from my office into the river and also into the ocean. So we're right down at zero. So could you respond to that, please?
And I believe that Barbara Borgeson will be giving the next webinar in this series, and she will be talking about that, the process, the application process, the criteria for selection and ranking. So I don't want to go into that too much because Barbara is the lead on that. I can say that all of the criteria will be considered as far as the ranking of your need for new school. Are there any other questions?
Yes. In Maximo, did they get all the kinks and bugs worked out in that? Because I know I entered in a whole stack full of work orders into there, saved them all, whatnot, and went back the next day to finish the rest, and the ones that I had entered the previous days were all gone.
I'm not sure because I'm not. Me and my staff do not work directly with work orders and things. We're more at a higher level, at the asset level, for inventory and those types of things. But there is. Do you have the Maximo help desk?
I do, but
contact information.
I do, but they don't call you back for like a week later. So it's kind of. It's kind of.
If you will email me, shoot me an email.
Okay.
And just briefly tell me what you just told me. I will forward that to the correct people and get you an answer.
Okay, thank you.
Someone else have a question?
Yeah, Dale, I have a question. My name is Charles Cooney. I'm the principal at Loneman School here in South Dakota. In terms of facilities in the Tribal Grant School, is there any planning to, at the BIA level, to have some more specific training for just tribal grant schools? Because I think we fall into a different category, a different communication system than BIE employees. And a lot of times I think we're not fully informed. We're not taking part in the updated training for FEMAS or Maximal. We're not fully funded to take part in those trainings. I think there's elements of the formula that, for me, listening for the last 34 minutes was news to me. But I think there has to be a concise effort to really address the needs of tribal grant schools, particularly in South Dakota, and their limited facility funding.
I agree.
The formula, the way we calculate the O&M budget, is exactly the same for grant schools, Bureau-operated schools, for Office of Justice Service, detention centers, law enforcement centers, and for BIA agency facilities. The formula is the same for everyone. For training, because you have somewhat of a constraint on your budget, you don't really get as much as you actually need for the operations portion. We suggest that you set aside 2% of your funding to be used for training, so that your staff can go to attend these Maximo trainings, and they're mostly Maximo now. There's not any FEMAS. We're doing that on a case-by-case basis. But you're in the same boat as everyone else. You're going to have to use your O&M funds if you need to send people to training. Now, you can request that trainings be located somewhere near your location. And as far as I know, I think they are trying to schedule trainings in various regions so that there's less travel costs for the participants.
Dale?
Yes.
Dale, this is Vicki Forrest. I wanted to thank you so much for the presentation. I wanted to address the tribal grant schools training. As Dale said, we're trying to set up with Dale's office, and I think Barbara Borgenson's also the lead on that, but we're trying to set up trainings around the country to accommodate sites, also to reduce the amount of travel costs. So if you I'm going to ask the Associate Deputy Directors of East, West, and Navajo to reach out to grant schools and see where we need Maximo training. Tribal grant school operations, particularly in this effort, is one of the drivers of us having this webinar series. And so it's really important to Dr. Russell, to myself, to everybody in BIE that you have access, that you have training. And for this webinar, we'll be posting it. It's being recorded. Once we get that, we'll be posting it on our website for people that missed it today. And also, Kim will be sending it out via email. The training talked about a little bit earlier for the new application process is next Thursday. And so we have sent out a notice about that one. But the tribal grant schools access, training, and issues are something that these are designed to help. So, again, my name's Vicki Forrest. I will ask the ADDs to work with the grant schools in their area and see where the best place to hold those. And so we've already, I think we have several in Albuquerque, several in Phoenix, one in Portland. I'm trying to think of the eastern side of the country where we're holding those, but I think Marlene Walker's on the call, and she's helping my office work on that. So, Marlene, how have you been working with the ADDs, or have people been contacting you directly, or how is the best way to do that?
The ADDs have been contacting me, and then I've had some facility managers contact me, and we are going to host a session up in Minneapolis. We don't have a firm date set just yet, but we're working on that, and I'm working with Rosie on that.
Okay. So I'm going to ask for those that are in the eastern part of the country that you work with, and I think, Rosie, you're on the call as well. Rosie Davis, who's the acting ADD for what's now called East, or formerly called East, and work with Marlene and make sure that we have training sites set up. Dale, I'm worried about the Maximo issue in terms of I know that systems always have bugs that need to be worked out, but what is the help desk number? Where is that at?
We have a contractor who we've got a contract with them to perform O&M on that system.
Okay.
Let me give you their help desk number.
Thank you.
Is 571 483 2755.
Okay.
And Vicki, we will post. We will submit to Wendy and Matthew all of these documents with all these contact numbers, and I think Wendy was going to post them on you guys' website.
Yes. She'll be working with Kim Biju and our communications specialist, and they're going to be posting all of that. I guess, Dale, I know they're busy, and I don't want to take up too much more time in the call, but I'm concerned about the lady that has not getting any callbacks. So she can contact you, though, and you're going to help her?
Absolutely. If she'll shoot me an email, I'll get some answers for her.
All right, Dale. Thanks so much.
Dale, could I ask one more question?
Okay.
The question I would have is in these systems with FEMIS, with Maximo, with O&M funding, with the Tribal Grant School, and ISEP funding, is there ever a conscious effort to look at, we as Loman School, we're looking at our facility budget this year, and we're looking at, to make it work, we're probably going to have to pull ISEP funding. And sometimes I wonder at a higher level if the funding, if we could factor all those things in. And I think the other thing you got to factor in is how much recommended staff should a tribal grant school have in their facility department to keep it running effectively. If there's a ratio, if there's a number, I think those types of and I realize across the board, Indian education, Indian affairs in general is underfunded, but I just wish there was some rationale there, because my argument is we should get facility funding. Our ISEP funding should be used to educate our kids. We shouldn't have to pull ISEP funding to cover our facilities, and I think that's a question that really needs to be answered.
I can't address the ISEP issue because that's an educational program funding, and I'll leave that to Vicki and her folks to address that. I do understand that your operations and maintenance funds are sometimes you have shortfalls in them, and you ask about how many people should you have on your staff. You're going to have to look at your O&M budget and break out your costs for personnel, supplies, and materials. I have a process that I used, a spreadsheet that I used to use as a facility manager in calculating my budget and where it's supposed to be used. There's also a part of the annual work plan, and maybe Vicki and I and Matthew and Wendy should plan another webinar that gives you some detailed information about how to establish an annual work plan. But it's basically you just have to see how much your budget is and what you can afford. Sometimes, and I know in some cases the schools are isolated, and you can't. You have to have people to do things. You can't just reach out to a local community and hire someone to come in and do that work for you on a short-term basis. But it's just a matter of kind of like you do with your own checkbook. You just kind of have to balance it out. And in most cases, there are things you need to do, like your custodial. You may have to cut back on the frequencies of how often. And I'm not saying let your facilities get filthy, but you may cut back on the frequencies of how often you do certain tasks, like shampooing your carpets, or you have to vacuum and keep things clean, but you do also have to exercise some frugality in everything. The way the budget is now, everyone is forced to do that.
Hey, Dale, this is Vicki. Could I jump in there on the budget side?
Sure.
Okay. This is, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Vicki Forrest. I'm the Deputy Bureau Director for BIE. And so I really appreciate the staff at Loneman School question. We have not been funding O&M at an acceptable percent, and in the 2016 budget request that the President submitted in February, there is a large increase being asked for in O&M funding. So we're hopeful that this Congress will pass that as we get to the fiscal year for 2016. So we did ask for, the President did ask for a sizable increase in O&M there. I like the question about what the staffing should be at the school. I'd be happy to have another webinar to talk about those kinds of issues. We do talk about teacher ratio to classroom and those kind of things. Give you some more context about me. I'm over the school operations side. So IT, facilities, HR, acquisition, communication, and IT are all under my direction. So I'd be happy to have another webinar to talk about this kind of issues and really to hear from the grant schools what you need. I can't, the budget request went in, and we're hopeful again that Congress will pass that. But in the interim, there's certainly what I can do from my office to at least seek your input. That's why we really want these webinars to be informational, but also ways to seek your input on various topics. So I really appreciate the question.
Vicki, this is Mark Jacobson again, the superintendent for the Quileute Tribal School. I really appreciate all your efforts and those others there on trying to get Maximo up and running and listening to our concerns. I attended the training in Portland. It was outstanding, and on Maximo. But it was obvious when the trainer, toward the end of the first day, he was not talking about tribally controlled schools because he didn't know there were so many of us. And one of the points, so you'll understand, we need somebody that's working with Maximo that is from a tribally controlled school, because there's some clear differences. Right. Just to point out one, there was no category when you're doing a projecting your work costs to put in your benefit costs. And when we asked him, where is that box to do that, and he goes, well, all your benefits are already calculated. It is for Bureau-controlled schools, but not for tribally controlled schools. So that's just an example of one of the issues that happened that they wouldn't have thought of because they didn't have enough representation from there. So there needs to be more effort in that area. And we also, that training, while it was excellent, it was just an intro to get us started and hold us over. We need routine training throughout the year to help us get up to speed. And it's great if they can all be taped because, as you well know, there's such turnover that you never know from month to month who's going to be there or who's going to be sitting in my chair. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate Mr. Jacobson, you saying that. We work directly with Daryl LaRush, who's head of all of what used to be called OFMC, but myself and him and Dr. Russell are really working closely together to work with Dale and his staff, number one, to do these kind of informational type webinars. But most importantly for all of us is that we talk to tribal schools. I did understand for some other folks that took the training that it doesn't, and this is nobody's fault, I think we just got to hear, but it does need to be geared, since most of our schools are tribally operated, it does need to be geared towards tribally operated schools and your operational costs. And so I appreciate you bringing that up. We will be taping all of these again, and one of the things that I'm charged with doing in school operations is training. And so we're working with DOI Learn, which is for those of you that have access to interior systems, is the mechanism that you gain access. So we're working with them to host a series of trainings, ongoing trainings, Mr. Jacobson, as you were talking about, because we do know Dr. Russell and myself both worked at our tribe, and he worked at a tribal school. I was the chief financial officer at my tribe, so I know that turnover can be high, and I know that training costs can also be high. So we want to use electronic methodologies as much as we can. So thank you so much for attending the training. Well, I'm glad to hear it was good. I'm also glad to hear, though, that there's places we can improve that. So as we go forward, I'll be working with Dale and his staff and the folks that are doing the training to ensure that we have, number one, people that are aware that we have tribal schools that are at the training, and that's the bulk of our schools, and then secondarily that we have some answers for you. So I'm the person accountable for all of that. So please hold me to that as we go forward on these calls. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And Vicki, I haven't been that closely involved with the Maximo trainings, but my staff and I are becoming more involved with Maximo, and I'll be passing that along. We've made a note about the EBCs that we'll be bringing to our contractor and to Barbara's attention that they need to become more aware of the grant schools and give a little more consideration for that.
Yes, I appreciate that, Dale. I really think it's important that, again, since the bulk of our schools are grant schools, that we do that. Also, too, I would tell everybody on the call I'll be passing this information along to Dr. Russell. He'll be meeting with some staff, the Assistant Secretary's office on facilities. And so this is one of the issues that I want to bring up is that we need to ensure that the training is focused appropriately. So thank you, Dale. I appreciate that.
Okay, we've got about 9 minutes left, but I do want to run through, and I'm going to go through this quickly. So forgive me if I lose you in some places. But let me give you some information on the current operations and maintenance formula. This is how we calculate your operations and maintenance budget. This is just some background on where it is and where it came from. Go ahead and go to the next one. This is the actual formula. This is what automatically generates an O&M budget for you. Go ahead and go to the next one. These are the components. This is what makes it up. The gross square footage, that's kind of the basis, but there's actual previous year costs for utilities. There are custodial tasks that are built into the system, like the PM technologies that generate labor and material costs for specific custodial tasks and preventive maintenance tasks. The unscheduled maintenance is a percentage of the preventive maintenance, and because we understand that a building in poor condition is going to break down more often and require more repairs, we have a percentage of the unscheduled maintenance that we calculate for each location, and it's based on the condition of the building. As you can see, the poor condition facilities get a little bit more money for unscheduled maintenance. There's isolation costs because some of you are isolated and there's quite a distance to go to the nearest service center for you to get supplies and materials, parts. So there is some a little bit of consideration given for the additional cost that you incur. There's site data, and that is the information on not for your buildings themselves, but for the site. Fences, sidewalks, roadways, the things outside of your buildings, the mobile grass area, those types of things that still you incur costs for. As I said, the GSA, the actual costs, those are based on your actual costs from the previous year. Program administration, expendable equipment, and work supervision are all a percentage, and I will show you a need budget in a moment, and you can see where those percentages come from, or what those percentages are of. These are your fixed actual costs that you need to submit in FEMA. to make sure that we know exactly how much your utilities and program support and your non-BIA vehicles, non-GSA, that's for your tractors and mowers, or if you own pickups for your facilities, they're not GSA, but you actually own them. You can there is a space for you to enter the gasoline, diesel, or other costs incurred to operate and maintain those vehicles. This is just basically the formula calculates a need. If you were funded at 100% what you needed, it tells you how much you need to operate and maintain your location. The Congressional Appropriation has been less for going on more than a decade now. There is a difference. We apply the Congressional Appropriation against your need, and it automatically gives you your fair share of what we get. And people say, well, where's the rest of my money? We don't keep any money. We distribute everything that that Congress appropriates. For this year, the operations, the constraint was 49.39%. That means you got about 51 cents on the dollar for operations, but you got 3.51% more than you needed for maintenance. That's quick, kind of down and dirty, but when we look at your inventory, when we talk about inventory, you need to make sure that your inventory in FEMAS is correct. We found a number of errors that maybe you may not be getting enough money for your site because of those errors. You need to have your facilities people check those inventories. If you need help with it, you can always go to your regional facility manager to ask them for help. If you can't get access to FEMAS, they can pull out your inventory reports. You need to make sure all of your dimensions, we've found places where we have a ceiling and walls, but there's no floor. So they were losing money because their floor wasn't counted as part of their inventory. We've also found situations where the floor, and I'll just give you this as an example. The floor was 10 square foot and the ceiling was 6. So your floor and ceiling should be the same. So they were losing funding that way. We've also found situations where there were errors that increased a location's O&M. They had a decimal point in the wrong place, and they were making a lot more money than they should have. And when some location gets more money than they should, that means everybody else is getting less than they should. So you need to have your inventory reviewed every year. You need to take a look at your actual costs, make sure those are entered with the correct numbers. And if you have problems with that, you can always contact my office or the regional facility managers, and Marlene is available to help. She has worked with us this past year in getting all the actual costs loaded into FEMA so that everybody gets what they should. I know that was quick because we didn't have much time, and we got time maybe for one or two questions if you have some. Just as a note, we will be this will be posted on the website for you.
Dale, this is Garland from Hopi High School.
Yes, sir. How you doing, Garland?
Doing good. Hey, is there anything in the future as far as lifting this constraint? It's been a number of years that we've been with a constraint, and it's really hurting the schools, especially the grad schools, because we're, like the gentleman previous said, that there's a possibility that sometimes we might have to use some of their funding to make things work for us.
Yeah, as Vicki just mentioned, they're working for the 2016 budget to try to get an increase in funding so that constraint will go down. Hopefully, we can always hope.
I think the building conditions will dictate over Indian country that the majority of them are in poor condition.
That used to be the case. The majority was. We have made some improvements. We have a lot fewer facilities in poor condition now. Not to say that everything's rosy, but we are making some improvements. We do understand, and as you saw in the formula, buildings in poor condition get a little bit more unscheduled maintenance, get a little bit more consideration for that reason, because they are in poor condition and they require more funding to keep them up and going. But hopefully, Dr. Russell and Vicki will be successful in getting an increase in funding.
Yeah, this is Vicki. The President's budget asked for a request that you can see online, asked for a $10 million increase in operations and a $10 million increase in maintenance. So that was the request. So we're hopeful that Congress will pass that and so that we can distribute those funds out. But I really appreciate the question.
If those another question, if those funds are approved, what kind of constraint are we going to be looking at that point?
Oh, it would be a lot less than what it is currently. We would just have to wait to see exactly how much funding, how much of an increase you do get before we could really say what kind of constraint it would be. But it would be a lot. Your funding would be greatly improved if they get that amount of money.
I had another comment in regards to the gentleman's comment from Portland as far as their operations, actually their maintenance costs or their maintenance FTEs. When they went grant, they should have received a listing of their FTEs for that particular location. That way they can figure out what kind of staffing they have as a baseline and make adjustments as necessary.
Thank you. I don't know if he's still on the call or not, but that's really some good advice in terms of setting a benchmark. I was going to respond to your question about operations. If the budget is passed as the request went in, and this is all on the website, we would be funding schools then at 61% of calculated needs. So that's certainly not 100%, but it is increasing. So again, we're hopeful that Congress will pass that. But again, you can see that request at DOI's website. Google that, and you can find the full request on there.
Okay,
one thing everyone probably needs to do is look at establishing some conservation policies and installing conservation things in your school facilities. And some things are not that costly. You can do. I know that the motion detector for your lights, so that if there's no motion or activities in that room after a few minutes, the lights go off. You'd be surprised how much it's not that expensive. You'd be surprised how much that would help reduce your electrical costs. And electrical costs are a big part of your costs for utilities.
Dale, can I get Vicki? Vicki, can I get your name and title?
My name is Vicki, V-I-C-K-I, Forrest, F-O, F as in Frank, O-R-R-E, S as in Sam, T, and I'm the Deputy Bureau Director of BIE.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I believe there are contact numbers that Matthew's going to put up at the end of this, which I think we're pretty close to it now. Feel free to contact my office or my staff. We're always available to help. We are like everyone else. We understand the problems you're going through. Sometimes we're not able to solve all of your problems, but we will definitely make every effort to help you find an answer or resolve your problem. So feel free to contact us, and any issue concerning facilities, we'll be more than happy to try to help.
One question: the EBC formula, or the percentage of 23.5%, how is that derived? Because we're certain that ours is significantly higher than that.
If I'm not mistaken, I think in FEMA's the locations, the EBCs for the locations can be changed, and I believe it's in the actual cost. In the actual cost screen, I believe there is an EBC. If you will shoot me an email, I will verify that and tell you where it is. And if you can tell me what your EBC is, if you can't change it, I will change it for you. But
thank you very much.
You do need to understand that in all of these actual costs, if they're exceedingly high, I mean, we have seen things like come in with $1 million electrical cost, and we're going to question that. So if you come in with EBC costs like 75%, we're going to have some kind of documentation.
Thank you very much.
Dale,
Matthew, are we running over our time?
I'm going to put up. I'm good on time. I can stay on the conference call, but I'm going to put up the list of contact information that I was sent. So.
Okay. Do we need to
stop sharing?
Nope.
Stop sharing?
I'll just I'll take it over from here, and then I'll put up the information.
Okay. Great. I would like to thank everyone for your questions and make myself and my staff available if you need further assistance. Feel free to contact us and give us a call. We work in the operations and maintenance program, and the quarters program is also within operations and maintenance. So if you have quarters issues, Gerald Curley, as you can see, Gerald Curley and Debbie Campbell, you can contact them. They will provide some assistance to you.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions for us, or?
Are we able to print and save this? What's on the screen now?
Matthew, is this contact information going to be part of the recording?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So once we get, I don't know, Matthew, how long it will take us to get the recording. We'll make sure that all of this, the entire presentation plus the contacts, are on the website.
Okay.
What website does that go on?
BIE.edu.
And for my contact information, earlier I had said Edwin.Keel. On the screen it says Dale.Keel. Either one will get to me. They're tied together.
Okay.
Okay, Matthew and Dale, I think sounds like we're done. Thank you both so much for all your hard work, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you.
Thank you.